situation update, please.
Getting visuals now, Captain.
When you play the original Halo games, an explosion takes up the whole screen. So I'm going to kill a fast-moving purple thing, and it will come at me and die. In Halo Wars, it's going to be a view from 40 feet up, so it's not going to be one explosion, it's going to be 20.
One of the things we want to do with Halo Wars was tell the Halo story, show the Halo universe in a different way, and actually bring strategy gaming to the console.
In Halo Wars, you get to control everything.
All the grunts and elites and brutes and choppers and ghosts and banshees and all these really cool vehicles, plus a lot of the stuff we've added.
Control heroes, you get to control Spartans, you get to control small armies of Spartans. Everything is under your control in a real-time strategy.
We wanted something that the fans could see the things that they know and love from a different perspective. Spartan jacking is one of the best things in the game. They jump on top of the enemy tanks and they beat the crap out of the tank, they rip off the hatch, they toss out the driver, they hop inside and they take over that vehicle. And people are used to seeing that from a first-person shooter standpoint, where everything's very large. But we have all that same detail in Halo Wars.
Some of the battles in the game are small, and some of the battles in the game are really big. What's cool about that, at least in the campaign, is that's based on how you play. If you spend more time going to fight the Covenant, you may be dealing with a larger force than if you would have gotten there quicker.
And you get those choices, which is again the hallmark of a strategy game. How do I want to build my army out? And by the end, you've got 12 or 15 Scorpion tanks rolling across the landscape, or you could have 40 or 50 Marines. And it's really kind of your choice. It is a game more focused about combat, which is certainly what the Halo fans will expect. People want to blow stuff up, myself included. It's a console game. Stuff blows up really, really well in Halo Wars, but it is also a game where you have to think.
The new part of this game is, for a lot of people, is actually playing an RTS. In the FPS games, you're just using one single weapon and one single tactic. In our game, you actually have to employ multiple strategies on the screen at the same time.
You're the general, training units and using those units to accomplish the mission. Commanding your armies, you're commanding your resource gathering or your economy.
You manage resources, which you buy that army with, and you actually use those resources to upgrade and change your army to form a strategy that you will hopefully win with.
There's a lot of different definitions for armies, right? There's like a teched out army, which is maybe not as big an army, but you've spent a lot more of your resources on technologies and things like that, so it's a very powerful army.
And it actually kind of maps into Halo Wars really well because in our game, the UNSC, the humans, they're the regimented army. But the Covenant, the sort of religious zealots, they can bring a lot more units to the fight, but each of those units is a little bit weaker. Halo Wars is a game about bases. It's a strategy game. I have to have a good base of operations, otherwise I can't field a very good army.
You start with just one unit or a base, and by the end of the game, you've got an army of 240 infantry or 5 Scorpion tanks. Or choose to upgrade them and make your current Scorpions even better. It's a lot of fun to be able to do that.
I'm actually very happy with the way we've been able to represent all the economic decisions in Halo Wars. They're faster, it's easier to do. I'm not managing 75 villagers chopping down trees, but the depth is still there.
We didn't want people digging in the dirt. We felt that was not what a console player really wanted to do. We wanted the focus to be on combat.
It's quick, it's easy to play, but it's very simple. I bounce back to my town, I get the supply pad upgrade, I'm back to the fight.
It's just that long scale look at the actual war. It's not one v many, it's many v many.
It's a fast-paced game. It's an adrenaline rush from the word go, but it has that strategy aspect to it that people haven't seen in the Halo universe before.
Always our biggest concern was making sure that we had the Halo vibe down.
The lore is really deep and rich. It has a lot of units that we can play with, which is great for a strategy game.
We found the Covenant to be pretty full. They generally had a good array of vehicles that you could already fight. When we looked at the UNSC, they had Master Chief.
If people have played the Halo shooter games, they're familiar with Master Chief. But in a strategy game, it's about multiple units.
So we actually had to fill in quite a little bit for the UNSC in order to make them feel like a complete army.
Halo Wars is the next Halo game, but it's a prequel. So from a game design standpoint, it was challenging to go back and create units that felt technologically in the milieu of what somebody would have had 20 years earlier. So one of the best examples we have is the Cyclops.
The Cyclops is this new unit that we added. He's almost like a big giant robot. It's a cool unit because he can repair other stuff and he throws things on the battlefield. He can pick up stuff and throw it.
It's very clunky. 20 years before Halo 1, this thing was awesome. It was very cool. It could rip chunks off of vehicles and all that, but it was too bulky, too unwieldy, and so eventually it was abandoned in favor of the Spartan armor.
Let's go.
There's a definite feeling when the Spartans show up for the first time in the campaign. We're like, wow, this is when Spartans were Spartans and not just Master Chief.
If you're familiar with the lore, you know that back 20 years before the start of Halo 1, there were lots of Spartans running around.
You hear stories about why Spartans are cool and how there used to be more, but he's really like this relic of awesomeness. It'd be like if Batman was here now and you heard stories about there used to be 20 Batmans and that was when they could really kick ass.
So we get a chance to finally let you play with multiple Spartans. They're great in combat, they can steal enemy vehicles, they can get inside my vehicles and make my vehicles better. We call them the Kingmaker unit.
Most of the units in Halo Wars have a special ability. It works the same for everybody. You just select them, you hit Y. Pretty sure everybody's going to be real excited about the Warthog Y ability, which is ramming into piles of grunts with a Warthog. It's about as good as it gets.
One of the new units we've added that I think is pretty kick-ass is the Locust on the Covenant side. It's basically a building killer. It's almost like a smaller version of a Scarab. You know, when that comes and there's 4 of them, when you're based, you kind of freak out because, you know, they can take buildings down pretty quick.
Probably my favorite unit in Halo Wars is the Scarab. I mean, it's just such an evil device that the Covenant use. I mean, it's got a big laser beam that fires out, and as it destroys infantry, they scream and burn to death, and it truly feels evil to use it.
They're hard to get to, but once you get them, they're really unbelievably strong. They can take out entire armies and stuff like that.
There is nothing better than shooting a large laser beam at the infantry and hearing them scream and die. If you're going to be evil, you're going to make a Scarab, and it's going to be awesome. Those things are just made for killing.
From the UNSC aspect, you have these god powers that appear to come from the Spirit of Fire, which is hovering above the whole time, and you can call on its help whenever you have the resources to do it.
Like a carpet bombing run, or use the Mach cannon to actually blast an area from space. The cryo bomb is another UNSC option that actually freezes units for just a little bit. And it perhaps gives you a chance to take out something very big like a Scarab.
Gameplay-wise, that's really cool because the carpet bomb is kind of like a big old grenade. It does damage to everything. The Mach blast is kind of like a little sniper shot.
Both sides actually use different ways of turning the tide of a battle. The humans can call upon Spirit of Fire. The Covenant, though, actually have their hero units on the ground.
They're actually individually the best units in the game. The Covenant are led by these charismatic guys, these religious zealots.
Blasphemy!
They have the Prophet of Regret, the Brute Chieftain, or the Arbiter.
The Prophet of Regret can call down this cleansing beam, which is actually what the Covenant armies used to glass planets into oblivion. You can chase that pesky little Spartan around the map with this beam of destruction.
The fully upgraded Arbiter has a power called Rage.
I'll tear them apart.
He can take out an entire UNSC army just by himself. If you talk to anyone technical about an RTS game, they will tell you all about rock, paper, scissors.
Vehicles beat infantry, infantry beat aircraft, and aircraft beat vehicles.
But as soon as you start seeing rock, paper, scissors, all you're seeing in the game is the Matrix. You might as well just have numbers on the screen. One of the things we worked incredibly hard on was making the units in Halo Wars just super cool.
We want it to be something that we love. Make a robust strategy game, which we know how to do, but we also have to make something that feels very much like it's in the fiction of what Halo fans would expect.